Hey everybody, welcome to another one of my Saturday shows. Saturday Scouts, I feel like we should call them. That would be, I guess it's not going to last that long. So the naming conventions don't matter, but I'm Samson Folk. This is another Saturday podcast. And today, basically, we're going to be looking at Collin Murray-Boyles, who is one of my favorite prospects from the draft. Now, does that mean I think he's like a top five in, plain sight or something like that? No, I don't know about all that, but I do think he's one of the most interesting and intriguing players just based on how he achieves things and what he's able to do on the court. He has glaring holes in his game. I watched the video when he went 7 of 25 on his spot up shots at the NBA draft combine. It didn't go well. I also watched the video when he went 22 of 30 on his pull ups. He is not a normal prospect. He's quite unique. And if you're going into some of the numbers where it's like, man, this guy's, let's say, box score plus minus is out of this world. The only comps are guys like Draymond Green or Zion Williamson way back in the day. There's stuff like that. But box score plus minus is heavily weighted towards bigs. It is what it is. For any Raptors fans who have been keeping tabs on Scotty Barnes, you will see usually if people are trying to make an argument for him online, they will include box score plus minus. Why? It's, every stat or catch-alls all have their problems. Regardless, we're here to talk about Collin Murray-Boyles. So our first Nabil says, Samson, when are we getting Pierce Brosnan, Irish prop Maple tape breakdown? Yeah, I'm not sure when that's coming, Nabil. However, maybe someday. So the big thing here is that Collin Murray-Boyles is in play for the Raptors at 9. If I had to put my money down, do I think that's what ends up happening? Probably not. He's been mocked to the Raptors before. I don't necessarily think that means that he's going there. It just means that people are putting names. Guys get mocked to a bunch of different places. And especially the 9th pick, as we've seen in both mine and Trey's coverage and the wider coverage of the Raptors picks, it's like anybody could end up at 9. The Raptors are either in a position where maybe they swoop somebody up that falls out of that consensus. Well, there isn't a consensus, but out of that like top 7. Some people have a top 6, some people have a top 4, but the Raptors are in a position to take someone who fell, which is what happened with Grady, which is what happened with Jacoby. Maybe they jump up and take somebody who they love, because the truth is, and I know everybody gets really caught up on this. The draft, there'll be consensus and there'll be a guy who's here, and then there'll be someone who says like, no, that guy who's 7th, I think that's the 31st pick in the draft or something like that. And it seems insane, but you get a few years away from the draft and the 23rd pick can be significantly better than the 4th pick. The 12th pick can be significantly better than the 2nd pick. It's just like you have to go with the guys you like. And I really like when there's a lot of variety. And I think that speaks to maybe a bit of transparency and honesty when there's a lot of variety in the consensus and more independent thinking, I should say. And I independently think that Collin Murray-Boyles rocks, dude. I think he's a very fun prospect. Usually, yeah, Nabil says that a second rounder can be better than the first. That's right, dude. I know, obviously, the calculus is changing, and this because there's so many guys pulling out to go get that sweet NIL money, which good for them, but it does weaken the second round, especially the Raptors having that 39th pick. Maybe not as in strong a place as it was without a bunch of NIL money coming in. And even the idea of like pre-drafting that, PD Webb used to talk about a lot, like it's kind of it's disappearing a little bit because of NIL, which is, as long as the guys get paid, then it's gravy. So Collin Murray-Boyles, he's a sophomore out of, sorry. I always get so scrambled doing the lives because I'm just trying to fit everything in. Usually when you watch college tape on a stream, even if it is fair use, even if it is, breaking it down analysis, somebody's going to come and claim and demonetize everything and take all your money. That's probably what's going to happen here. If you like the stream, if you subscribe, that at least help me out in that way. Help Raptors Republic out in that way. To the film, Collin Murray-Boyles. He is a sophomore out of South Carolina. He is 6'6.5" in bare feet. Why do we do bare feet? I don't know. They're plain shoes. That conversation had to death. He has a 7 foot 0.75 wingspan and 8 foot 10 standing reach. He's pretty well proportioned, if not a little bit short. Cosmo says, I love CMB, but he's one of those players where I worry about the fit the most. That is certainly a consideration I will be talking about. ZOL123 says, enjoying a nice black drip and cigarette watching my boy Samson. Hell yeah, dude. So he's 6'6" in some, 7 foot wingspan, 8 foot 10 standing reach, a sophomore out of South Carolina, 16.8 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.3 blocks. His steal percentage is 2.9%, 4.7% for the block. Those are huge numbers for those categories. His shooting splits were 0.586 from the field. That's great. It's fantastic, actually. 265, that's 26% from three. That's not great. And I watched everyone that went in. I watched everyone that missed. There's stuff in his jumper. And nearly 71% from the free throw line. 63% true shooting. He is so far away on the 3-point jumper, I think. But we will get into why I think the mid-range jumper and the free throw will be there. But the free throw, he reminds me of Siakam a little bit. And I'll get into this. But I'll say quickly, and we'll obviously see this when we watch his defensive tape, which we'll start with his offensive tape, because most people have questions about his offense. His reputation precedes him as a defender. So we'll actually start with offense. So he has really great agility times for what it's worth. He tested out athletically, like in agility, shuttle, like that kind of stuff, better than Carter Bryant, for example. His shuttle run was quicker than Cooper Flagg. His max vert, I think, was 34, which is not huge, but he's definitely has arms to help out. He dunks about as often as Thomas Sorber, just if that matters to people. He's fast. He's very athletic in the horizontal fashion. So, yeah, we'll get into the offense. I'll give some numbers. So he shot 63% at the rim. Actually, I'll just play the offense while this goes. And we can kind of look at some of this afterwards. But he shot 63% at the rim in college. And that was on almost 400 attempts. I think he has actually phenomenal touch. His body control around the rim, his ability to like elevate his arms outside of his, his sphere, extend and still have soft touch, I think is really, really impressive. And I also think like he shot 54% on his hook shots this past year. And that's all really, really great. JD Hunt says chunky mobile, let's go. This is actually something I wanted to kind of dispel a little bit. I know they have similar like measurements to some degree, but they have almost polar opposite movement styles. Mobo is more choppy. He's not languid or anything. When we think about fluidity, Mobo is not fluid. Mobo is very powerful and staccato. Boyles is very, very fluid. And most of his defining and best plays include, a really great mixture of explosiveness and coordination and fluidity. And that is one of the most impressive things. And especially the reason why I brought up the layups is that 63% of the rim on almost 400, attempted layups. CMB has a really, really great knack for using his body to shield, extending his hands outside of himself, and kind of finishing with touch and with flair. And Mobo just didn't have that. Part of why Mobo was such an analytics darling was because he dunked everything and didn't play like the stiffest competition in college. So Mobo was more of like a catch 2-foot jump. And you can see like as the highlights are playing in the background, CMB is a guy who can create off his own bounce, can jump off of both feet. And while he's not super strong with his right hand, he can finish with his right hand. He uses different pickup points. He gets to different types of releases. He beats different types of players off the bounce. And he is just like, he's very solid. And his touch, it all goes back to the touch, man. I think that CMB has really tremendous touch. And I think that that's going to carry over to the NBA level. It's one of the things I like most about him is that he has the ability to take bumps, extend out, and still finish with that feathery touch at the bucket. and the numbers bear that out as well. I do believe in his finishing at the next level. To be quite honest with you guys, I think it's going to be, a big part of his game, or at least I hope. And we can actually like that play right there. Let's run that back quick. That one right there. Sorry for audio listeners. I will be writing, a piece on CMB so you can actually like, get all of this. But like, look at the way he extends out, takes a bump, okay, and he has to go out again. This is the type of touch to kiss this off the glass here. So soft, so in control. That stuff is so impressive to me. Nabil says very wide hands on his measurements bodes well for the mids. He does. He's very his hands are great. And when we get into the defensive tape, I think that I mean, when you get into the defensive tape, he's very good. He gets his mitts on everything. Lewis always used to call Fred VanVleet's hands meat hooks when he dig down on guys, and I do think that's accurate to some degree to CMB. So this can kind of go this stuff. I love this play because it shows like the utility of what he's able to do. It's because CMB, and we'll run it back, right? Like CMB is facing up because he can face up, and he can drive at the rim, and he does have a good first step for if bigs are guarding him. It might not be the same if wings are guarding him, but he's so strong that he can overpower wings. Like he is going to be a funky isolation scorer at the next level, I think. Now, do I think that'll be elite? This is the art of scouting. I'm really not sure. Do I think that a team will even want him getting like elbow touches, catch, face? I don't know if that'll be something that he gets opportunities to do. What if a team is like, we love your defense, we want you to hit threes, focus on that? You know what I mean? You are moving away from some of his strengths, but the problem with the transition to the NBA is there are always guys who look better doing other like those same things as you do. It just is what it is. Adam Pike says best hands in the draft. Yeah, big meat hooks, baby. It's trouble when you're near him because he can he can do some damage with those. But yeah, like catch face. Now that's like not a great decision, obviously, but just moves the ball on quickly, goes, sets a screen. It's a ghost, catches, he has to recover. And look at his spacing. Look at this spacing, dude. There's basically 5 guys in the paint. Early pickup, up and under, finishes with English at the rim. Really impressive. That one, just catch. Now, go back, catch middle, turn face. That's a travel, but that's all right. I actually really like his mid-range jumper in rhythm. Now, that is kind of a problem with like his shooting in general, I think, is that he is so dependent on creating his own rhythm, which is a really bad indicator. And it's a really bad indicator for the next level, I'll say quickly. So basically when CMB shot like 26% on his threes this past season, and he shot 7 of 25 on his spot ups at the draft combine. He shot 30% on unguarded threes at South Carolina. And when I went and watched all of his attempts, he really doesn't like being rushed because he has a lot of he has a lot of moving parts in his jumper. Like he has a low pickup, he has to roll it into his like stomach a little bit, he has to get his elbows tucked in, and then he pushes from his chest into the finish up top. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's bad. That's really bad, right? So he has to be able to either out of a pull-up where he has space that people are affording him, he gets to set his feet and rhythm dribble into his pull-up, which allows him that low pickup point to get all of his, mechanics together. That's why he shot 22 of 30 on his pull-up shots at the combine. That's why, despite on low volume, he shot well off the bounce, in college, is that he gets to set his rhythm. He's not going to be the star who creates probably at the next level. So what happens, right? You have to develop your own rhythm as an off-ball shooter, and you have to take passes when they come to you, and you have to make quick decisions, and you have to shoot the ball when it comes. And when you have so much gunk in your mechanics, it means that it's really hard for you to set your rhythm, and it's really hard for you to organize everything quickly as an off-ball player. And especially if a team is closing out or even just under control, they close out maybe to your left side or something, and make you put the ball down with your right, or they're just trying to make you get the shot up under, a bit of, I guess, pressure. He struggled at that big time. And even without the closeouts, right? Because in those spot up drills at the combine, why he shot so poorly, and you can go watch it, is like there is an impetus to work quickly. You don't catch, hold and do it. They run you through those drills like, hey, put the shot up quick. And he really, with all the stuff going on in his mechanics, has a very, very tough time setting his rhythm and not having things go out of whack. His three at the next level, I don't know about it. I'd love to be wrong about his three. I would really, because if he hits threes, then he is going to be like a really, really strong NBA player. I don't know exactly what that ceiling is, but if he hits threes, I mean, it would be incredible. Very, very impactful. The mid-range stuff, mid-range players typically get to set their own rhythm. It's just that level of shot. I do believe in the pull up at the mid-range level. He can set his rhythm at the free throw line. His touch is really incredible on hook shots. His touch is really great around the rim. I think inside the arc, he's going to be a guy who does a fantastic job of scoring the basketball and doing so with touch. I believe in those indicators for sure. Now, we can get into some of the tape of him as a roller, because he is a really impressive roller, I do think. And it's like he has a different type of, like, that's rhythm, right? Like it's this, and we'll look at this 3-pointer one more time. Catch, swing the left foot in, go straight up. Nice. But not every shot is going to be like that, man. I love this play. Boom. Finish up top. That's a big man he's going over top. And so, like, he uses his gathers really well. He goes into contact really well as a roller. And he's just, he also plants good screens. He has good control in the middle. He uses his footwork really well to grab extra space. Raptors fans will know Jakob Poeltl is absolutely tremendous at using his footwork to get extra space and to carve room on the inside. And also, I mean, his hands, he can corral a lot of different types of passes. This play actually is one of my favorites. We'll run it back from the start, but it shows like a lot of the features of what makes him good. Like this is the big man is at the rim. He goes up. It's not a perfectly placed pass, but it's a good pass. Makes that read quickly. Goes back out to him. Moves on to something else quickly, right? Then we get that screen. Not a great screen, but it goes back out. Attack, control, finish. These are great things that he's doing offensively. And it's not like the easiest context for him to succeed in. And you can see, like, man, his touch is so impressive. And yeah, it's just like he's able to go either side, finish off different feet, finish with both hands. He's very impressive to me. He sets a lot of step-up screens so that he can step into stuff, so they can run delay action, or he can have space to cook and work on these other bigs. And like, I mean, he has a wide array of finishes because he really does have tremendous touch. I can't say that enough. And he is, I think, a dynamic dribbler. Maybe not necessarily for his size, but he's a dynamic dribbler for the position that he played in college. And that's an important thing. But you can see it's just like a lot of different types of finishing. He's using different footwork. He's using a handle to get to places. And he's clearly strong enough to go up against a lot of different forms of contact. And then also here, like you can just see him going up. I wanted to show a couple of offensive rebounds to watch. Like he has that big wingspan relative to size. He's able to carve out space and go up and make things happen. It's just, he does a really good job of using his body. This one too, slip out. I love this play, by the way. Such a great play. Slips, right? He's going to create that space for his guard. He's going to create that space to get down low, catch. They bring the low man over. This guy's in rotation. That triggers a cut. And like he probably could have went down low there. There's a seal that he missed, but he's already in the process of making, honestly, another good read. But there was two good reads. Well, one great read and one good read available to him. He made the good read. And yeah, he's just like, catch, survey, pass. He clearly can make short roll reads. I don't think I know some people were like extremely high on his playmaking overall at the NBA level. I'm not sure if it'll be that good, especially since like, is he going to get post-up opportunities? Is he going to get like those types of possessions? And is he going to get doubled, or is he going to be forced to score? I'm not really certain. Great seal down low. he's always moving, right? He's always trying to punish. He's setting off ball screen, setting an on ball screen, catch, go up, finish with English, go up and under. Like this Asa Newell, can he hang with them, create space, finish over the top? He's good, man. I mean, he's like like that great negative step, get down low. He does a fantastic job of scoring against other bigs because they really don't know how to guard him. And look at that rhythm pull up, easy for him. He knows what he has to do in these regards. And look at that hop step, take bump, finish at the rim. He is just, man. I know people talk about him as like an offense or sorry, a defense first prospect, and he is, but his offensive stuff is so intriguing to me. He's really coordinated, he's really powerful, and he has really good touch. And I do think he has an eye as a passer, although this kind of stuff just has to develop at the next level. You never know what it's going to be necessarily, but I think that he's got a lot of stuff that he can bring to an NBA offense. And it just depends on where he gets drafted, how he's used, if what the NBA offense is looking for is some of his unique creation, some of his ability to beat guys off the dribble, punish smalls. You wonder. Nabil says it's diabolical, but imagine the Spurs taking him and putting him next to Wemby. I mean, he and Wemby would be awesome. I also think he'd be really, really fun on somewhere like the Thunder. There are definitely some teams that would be able to house his limitations defensively and really elevate limitations offensively as a shooter, and then really try and maximize what he's great at, because he has some skills that should at the next level become elite. It seems that much to me. And now, like, I think his movement skills are elite. That's kind of what, like, I think he's an elite mover, and elite movers are really cool. And elite movers end up solving a lot of problems at the next level because they put defenses in difficult positions. That's something that he clearly has the potential to be able to do. It just depends on how good the team is around him. If they can make the other, defense scramble and let CMB eat, and then let him develop as he comes along. Is he a playoff player who gets played off of? They put a goalie in the lane off of him. Is that something that happens? Does he develop his three-point shot as a professional? Like, all that kind of stuff, it's up in the air. And it also, like, I understand why people are cagey, about having him on the Raptors, because the Raptors are a limited offensive squad. They should be less limited with Brandon Ingram in the fold, but they are limited, man. They don't have a ton of great creation. I mean, they were the worst on-ball creating team in the NBA last year. And you look at who had to do most of the creating, and it's like, yeah, guys who should not be lead ball handlers, lead creators. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's tough. I do like, man, Nabil says CMB was the one lotto prospect guy this cycle where I thought there was too much analysis on what he can't do and not enough appreciation on what he did succeed at when you contextualize SEC comp. Yeah, it's when I watched, and that was like Trey and I, literally when we were doing the draft lottery podcast with S, and Trey and I were literally about to get into it. Like, we were about to debate with fire and brimstone. I was about to say that I think that CMB can score the basketball, and and he was like, no. And I was literally about to stake my claim, make my case, because I do think he can score the basketball. Now, do I think he'll shoot the basketball, 3-point shot at the next level at a place where people are happy about it? I don't know, but he can certainly score. He can certainly do stuff off the bounce. He can finish like crazy. I'm reiterating a little bit, but yeah, you guys get the point. Mel says OKC doesn't need any more help. Let's help the Raptors. I mean, the Raptors got to help themselves, man. The Raptors, people on the Raptors, do they watch stuff that people in media do? Yeah. Do I think that a Samson Folk CMB tape watch is going to move anybody in the Raptors front office? I doubt it. That wouldn't be my expectation. I kind of want to get. I see what you're saying about the shooting between Queen and CMB. I'm actually gonna Nabil. I'm gonna save that for a conversation with Trey, and we'll go to bat. But I probably Queen shooting the three. If gun to my head, I'll probably take him. But we should watch the defense because CMB is a defense first prospect. You could make the case that he was the best defender relative to like team success and all that kind of stuff in college basketball. He's really, really impressive. Now, I'll say I think that he's not as clean on closeouts. I think sometimes he can be like when he gets out on the perimeter, he can be if he's guarding somebody who he doesn't deem to be particularly dangerous, he can kind of like space out on them and give up drives. It's true, but he is really, really in the game. And that's why he was such a dynamite off-ball defender, just getting his hands into stuff, especially one pass away. But yeah, we'll start here. So this first play, I love. He's in a position low, right? So he has to take this. He has to step out, right? He has to step out on the pass there. He's covering ground. He's mucking everything up. Tries to take it baseline. Bop. Blocks him. That's that range. That's that reading the defense or reading the offense ability. And then those are those long arms and quick bounce ability to jump on and swat the glass, right? Keep the glasses on says, do you think we can get Trey Johnson? Probably not. I don't think he'll fall to 9. That would surprise me. Although I do like Trey Johnson. Cosmo says, I think Drake Powell out of UNC is the best defender in the draft. Yeah, he's very good. And also, man, his athletic testing was really incredible. He's a fantastic athlete. This one, we're just filtering through. Then we'll see, okay, got to come play the screen. Jump it. Got to play another screen. There you go. Navigate, stick. Guys can't move him, Like guys really have a lot of trouble moving CMB. This one too. I liked clipping a lot of because I was watching the games against Oklahoma and I was watching the games against Georgia, and man, watching him this is Jeremiah Fears, by the way. So this is CMB. They're trying to run a double drag, and CMB is going to jump Jeremiah Fears and steal the basketball. Look at him. Beats him up court. Gets that hand in, steals it, off to the races, 2-on-1. Fantastic work. This one too, right? Switch out, hang in, boom, get the hand in there. Doesn't get the steal, so you have to move on and get to something else. The ball goes back out. Is he hanging in? What's going to happen with this one? Get in another position, right? Look at this. Watch him veer back switch, steal the ball. He has a really great sense of what the offense is trying to do. He reads it really well, and he continuously gets his hands into places that, oh my God, when he jumps guys, he jumps passes, he switches off. As Nabil says, hard shows and hedges are really fun for him. I think that he is so impressive at defensive playmaking. And I don't think he's the most impressive defensive stopper or contain defender in the draft. I think that there's actually quite a few guys ahead of him in that regard. But as a chaos disruptor, as a defensive playmaker, he rates extremely high for me. Because lots of they asked him to do a lot of switching, and he is going to continuously be put in positions where he has to guard on guys because he is 6'6", but he sticks in on guys, and he does a good job because he's so predictive. And that one too. Look at that. Jeremiah Fears, once again, coming off of this, what looked like a zoom action, right? And CMB falls asleep. And then Jeremiah's like, oh yeah, easy read. Look at the way he pivots and clears ground. Just gets into spots, man. Those arms go forever. And then again, Fierce jumps him, gets out, hangs with him, switches back onto the big down low, hangs in, takes away the pass, eventually gets the steal. He does such a good job of tracking what the offense is trying to do, making sure that they protect what they need to protect on defense. He is, I think, that's a show, hangs in, still manages to cover it, beats this post up, gets the edge. This is just being stronger and having better feel. That one too, that's the same play as Fears, right? And this doesn't necessarily end up perfectly, but he doesn't try and meet him at the logo right here. He knows that he wants to escape the play, so he jumps him really high, and he should have got a steal. Like his other defender should have been able to jump up and help him out here. And then running back in, he almost steals that pass too. And then like he's just very, very active and he's just really looking to disrupt things. And closes back out. Like this is a fine closeout. It doesn't really matter. The other parts of that play are what's impressive. This one too. Look at him, like even the strength creators. I can't remember this guy's name, but even the strength creators, like he has to protect the defense, protect the inside. Everyone has to fade on him. He's really big. He causes a lot of damage, does a lot of trouble. Look at this. Now this too, like I wanted to use this, even though they missed, I want to use this one as an example of like he doesn't feel like you can't leave yourself this open. Like he doesn't have to catch up to this degree, and it's just because he's not in a good defensive stance here. He's not really playing it, and he feels like he's just not playing that close. And like this is a made shot for a large percentage of the professional basketball population. And yeah, it's fine. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's the same way with Carter Bryant is like I don't want to just do like highlight scouting, which this is mostly, and this one too, right? Like he overplays his hand defensively. He's Jesus. I think that went too far. Okay, yeah, here we go. So he overplays his hand defensively right here and just lets a guy get like a really easy turn against him. So he's gonna pop out to above the break. And look at this. That is horrific defense. And he missed the shot, but like he definitely can be a little bit like spaced. And he can over pursue above the break a little bit sometimes. And it's just about like knowing exactly what the defense is trying to do. I want to put these plays in here too, because I always love, it's why I liked having the plays against Jeremiah Fears, is that we also have Asa Newell here. And Asa Newell tried to take advantage of CMB like quite a few times. And he had a tough time, admittedly. Like Georgia and South Carolina played each other quite a few times. And CMB had like a few opportunities to just like go head to head against Asa Newell. Newell was perfectly willing to try him. And these are results of like those plays. Is it looks quite good for CMB. Look at him pressure, right? Pressure, sit on it, just like, and that's the type of play. If you want to like, oh man, we'll go back to the end, but that's the type of play that I guess kind of exhibits that film we watched about Collin's touch at the rim is why it is so special. As Asa is bigger than Collin, but they play a similar position on the court, and you look like CMB plays him, pressures him, quickens his pace, and look at the finish here. Absolutely bricks it off the glass. And that finish right there, there's no way CMB is going to kiss that off the glass so well on offense. That's what I think would happen with CMB. And Asa is an NBA player, I think, at the next level. Like I think he'll get drafted. I think that he'll play at the NBA level. I actually do believe in his jumper for what it's worth, but his touch at the rim, just to show that play, is like, look how far off that was. Spinning, taking a bump, and controlling. CMB makes it look easy. It is not. And CMB did it against real size. CMB did it in the trees. CMB did it against pack line defense. CMB did it in a really, really tough position to be able to do it. Just constantly taking bumps, absorbing, isolating his left arm, kissing it off the glass repeatedly in a wide array of different finishing styles. So I loved his finishing, man. I loved his off-kilter creation. I thought that he was really impressive as far as that stuff goes. And the defense, I mean, he very clearly, if you're a team who can, Nabil says contact balance and flexibility. Yeah, totally. If you're a team who can draft CMB into like a fourth starter role is what you're hoping for, that would be crazy, man. Because like, imagine, because he can guard wings. 100% he can guard wings. Imagine you get to have him guard wings, and you could even put him on like the weaker wing. You know what I mean? You can put him on the weaker wing, and you can have him help off guys and just disrupt everything. He provides pressure with his hands on bigs who are catching in the middle, swipe downs, can show body, can bump them out, can make them turn around and reset the play. He can dig in on drives from guards. Even if he can scram switch guards out of post ups as the low man on the weak side, like, man, Nabil says you can put him on Josh Hart. Yeah, that's what I think. Carl Ribeiro says, do you think his 3-point shot was ever worked on in college? Because considering how bad his team was and how much they relied on him to score, I don't think they wanted him taking too many threes. Well, I mean, pull up threes in college, for example, or just like pull up threes are tough, and especially if it's like a self-created three. His jumper has of course been worked on. CMB at high school, at college, at the NBA level, it'll be worked on. Everybody's been trying to fix this jumper and say like what's good and what's bad, what needs to stay and what needs to go. These guys, like that's just where we are with that. But as I said before, I'm not super high. I'm not super high on his 3-point shot at the next level. Would love to be wrong though. Are the Raptors in a position to draft him as a 4th starter? What does our starting lineup look like with him? They probably are in a position to draft him as a 4th starter and be a huge team. Like, I think you could do something where the 3 in the middle. Now this is like RJ erasure. You know what I mean? But like, imagine quickly, let's say, is the one. Whoever you want, it's probably Ingram is playing the 2, and you could get away with these lineups for what it's worth. Ingram plays the 2, whoever plays 3, whoever plays 4, it doesn't matter offensively for CMB and Scotty, and then the 5 is like a mix of Jakob. It's like not going to be easy with the spacing, but defensively, I think they would be incredibly effective, and that's what it is you could put CMB like as a starter. I think you have to project like into the future and you have to trust on a few things developing. But coming into the league now, I think he could be a guy who, steps into transitional starting lineups, or maybe steps in instead of like maybe you want to go small ball and he subs in for like Pirtle. And this is just Raptor centric, of course, subs in for Pirtle, and then you trying to work things around from there. But you try and make that work. But I think mostly you would want him to be like in a fast paced bench lineup where he has the opportunity to like attack, closeouts, cut off of movement, catch and finish, be a pick and roll option, like a screening option, and be a guy who disrupts a lot of stuff defensively. Like, I think even if you drafted him as high as 9th, which I don't think he'll be drafted in the top 10 if I had to guess, if you drafted him that high, I think that like you want him to be a guy who gives you like major impact in like 22, 24 minutes per game for the first couple of years. See where his offensive game develops, and then see if he can grow it from there. Like, when we think about, for example, like Pascal Siakam, there were significant holes in his game that made him a tough player to start initially, and made his unique blend of like athleticism and his unique like of shot making or touch shot making and that kind of stuff was really useful on the bench mob. And then once the offense changed from being so centric around DeMar DeRozan to involving Kawhi Leonard, whose offensive package was very, for Kawhi, and then Pascal got to step into like being Kyle's guy. Because Kyle didn't assist Kawhi all that much. Like, Kawhi would get the ball in his spots, go to work, and then it got better as the season went on. But like, Kyle's guy in year 3 for Pascal was Pascal, and Pascal did it by dominating in all the in-between areas. And that's why I'm not as like low or I guess pessimistic about CMB offensively, is because I think with his movement, his touch, and his physicality, I think that he can dominate a lot of the in-between areas. Now, but that's why I said, when you think about playoff basketball, will he kind of gunk up and mess up spacing and create avenues for teams to play off of him? That's a real consideration. But there's so much of the game that I think he will dominate in and do really well in, that I think he will be like, he will do things offensively at the NBA level. And then defensively, I just think it's easy. But again, I don't do this work because I'm trying to sell people on CMB or Carter Bryant. I like these guys, but I do this work because these are the two guys I've watched the most of. And so it makes sense for me to do work around them. And especially since like I'll have a written piece on CMB coming out for people who, that's the thing with producing work now is like it used to be you just write an article, but now like a lot of people don't read. And not everybody wants to watch a stream or watch film breakdown where I, talk about this stuff, but short, summarized paragraph about a clip package in an article might be some of what people want. So yeah. CMB, do I think he ends up a Raptor? Probably not. The Raptors are in such a unique position in the draft that like I really couldn't guess who they like. I said it on last podcast who I was hearing they liked allegedly, but yeah, it's CMB is a really unique player, and I wanted to show some of this stuff because not every like highlight packages are one thing. Watching steals compilations are one thing, but like watching how he closes out, watching how he rotates, watching how he plays out of the pick and roll and like that, focusing in on that kind of stuff, I think is good. And it's probably going to end up demonetized because that's what always happens when you watch college film, which is so stupid. Those selfish network people are trying to steal everything, even though it is fair use. But like, what are you going to do? Go to court about my CMB film room? It was fair use. Go to the highest court in the land? No. Carlo Ribeiro says whether it makes sense at 9 or not, CMB definitely checks a lot of Masai's boxes. I mean, he does. It's just that 3-point shooting. I don't know. And despite Mobo and CMB not being similar to me basically at all, they have one very similar weakness. Spot up 3-point shooting. And that's like, I don't think they're similar players whatsoever. I think what they're good at defensively is different. I think that Mobo is an effective, like, low man rotator. I don't think that is to clean the glass, sweep the glass as a block guy. I don't think that is CMB's strength. I don't think CMB's strength is as a guy who steps out and shuts down isolations all the time. I don't think that is. But Mobo is one of the best like switch defenders in the NBA last year. In the whole league, he was one of the best. It was guys like Caruso, Dean Wade, and Mobo. And CMB, I think, is a far more involved, like weak side defender, a far more involved defender in the gaps. He's far more attentive in rotation. And Mobo, I mean, offensively, like Mobo was a second round pick in what was considered a weak draft. CMB in what is, I think, a decent draft is getting top 10 consideration. CMB is just like, man, I think he's far more talented offensively than Mobo was coming out of the draft and is. Nabil says, you mentioned ball containment versus CMB not being the best, but Mobo, I think, fits that bill. I think that Mobo's, if I'm reading this correctly, like CMB ball containment, I don't think is super strong, but Mobo's I think is like excellent, like incredibly excellent. I think that's the gap. I'll just answer like that because I'm not sure if I'm reading the intent of the comment. JD Hunt says, I've been crucified all episode, but you agree with me. Not similar players, but similar team building problem for us. Yeah. It's a problem that shows up with a lot of different players. Like it really does. And JD, the reason why I dispel the Mobo thing so fervently is because people actually say like he's like Mobo, which I don't like. You know what I mean? Like you can just say like he doesn't shoot well instead of saying he's like Mobo, because that's why I push back against it. Not because of you specifically, but I've actually like seen anytime CMB is talked about, people say he's like Mobo, which I don't think is accurate at all. Neither of them can shoot, but Mobo and Isaiah Hartenstein are not similar. and neither are CMB and Hartenstein or Mobley or anything like that, right? So that's more so it's just like a specificity, tediousness perhaps, but yeah, CMB I think is really interesting, and I'd be very very surprised if I'd be very surprised if he ended up a Raptor. But I will watch his career with great interest. Yeah, Cosmo says that CMB and Draymond get compared a lot more. Yes, they do. But comps to Hall of Famers are like, I mean, comps to Hall of Famers are always so tough, dude. Like, it was like when Trey and I were talking about a Senge, and people were like, "That's baby Giannis," and I was like, "What the hell are you guys talking about? You can't just call someone baby Giannis, dude. That's you just can't." It was like when, when Pascal and OG and Norm and Fred had their development under the Raptors, and then everybody very wrongfully thought like, "Oh, this means the Raptors can just make players good." And it was like, "No, quit giving the Raptors credit for what clearly happened with Pascal, happened with Fred, happened with, Norm and OG is like those guys had latent abilities when they got drafted that showed manifested at the NBA level. You know what I mean? And they did it through their work. And like great that the Raptors helped facilitate that. But the Raptors weren't able to do that with Dewan Hernandez or Delano Banton or whoever the hell else. Their history of development stopped after those guys, basically. And people, for whatever reason, decided like, oh yeah, you can just be like Pascal, just be like OG. And with Asenge, it's like with baby Giannis. Why would you assume that development path ever? Those development paths shock us because nobody says it. And when you attach like baby Giannis to guys, it's like, well, no, it'll never be that. Ever. Why would it ever be that? Yeah. Carl Ribeiro says, do you think CMB projects as a better scorer than Scotty is today? CMB is definitely a better scorer coming out of college than Scotty was. But Scotty has a much simpler shot mechanics, and Scotty's bigger, and Scotty's a much more talented playmaker. I think he reads the floor better, and that kind of stuff really matters. Cosmo says, like Kawhi and Giannis, were a lot more skilled than people give them credit for now. Yeah, same with Pascal. Like I did this video with Ben Pfeiffer, a couple years ago, was that everyone said Pascal couldn't shoot, and he certainly shot the three ball really poorly when he came into the league, but he was the highest volume mid-range shooter in the NCAA coming out of the draft. And when we watched his film together, it was a guy who was creating off the bounce all the time. He wasn't just like a run and dunk big man coming out of the draft. He had a lot of like latent abilities, and he had a lot of like intriguing ball skills that people just said like, oh, this guy he's just running and jumping and like whatever. And same with Kawhi. Kawhi was like a dynamite immediately when he stepped in the league. Like not his first year, but his second year, he was already like an extremely strong mid-range shooter, and he was in college. And it's just like these guys have those identifiers. It was like in 2011 and 2016. So the draft coverage has elevated significantly since then, significantly. And so people pay attention to more things now. Like it used to just be guys, as far as like what I was seeing, like there would be guys on like Raptors Republic comment sections who would be like, I watched this player the whole season. This is stuff he can do. But it used to be like draft coverage was really just like an ESPN mock draft where a player was summed up with their stat line and like a blurb and maybe like Bleacher Report doing whatever the hell else. But to actually find like in-depth coverage, it just didn't exist. And partially because the NCAA is just claiming copyright, claiming every piece of work film-wise about guys. So yeah. Koki says CMB probably a better scorer than Scotty, but he'll never be better on defense, in my opinion. Yeah, but I mean, CMB is a more diverse scorer than Scotty, but Scotty's bigger. And Scotty's jacked as hell, dude. The way Scotty is able to dominate guys physically, especially when he doesn't have to use his dribble, really impressive, man. Scotty was only a half-inch taller without shoes and weighed a lot less. Yeah, but he had a longer wingspan too, longer standing reach, if I remember correctly. And like Scotty is bigger than what he was measured at now, for sure. Scotty's big boy. Same with Grady. Scotty and Grady, I think, are both part of the like not real measurement currently thing. Like when I walk, I don't know if it's just I don't know if I'm getting it wrong because I talked about this. Somebody said like, why do you describe Grady as big but Jacoby is small? And I think they have a difference of 2 inches in height, but Jacoby has a 1 inch longer wingspan and maybe even the same standing reach, or maybe it's really close. And when I thought about that, I was like, yeah, maybe, clock my T, dude. I was like, maybe that is wrong. But then also I was like, measurements, they're not always accurate. And I stand next to these guys and I talk to these guys and I'm like, Grady is just much bigger than Jacoby. And like maybe that's wrong. And Scotty bigger is like bigger than what he was measured at. And I just that's like that kind of stuff. I don't know if the measurements are always perfectly accurate. You know what I mean? Like guys tank their stuff. Some guys slouch so that their wingspan seems like it's more plus. Some guys go big because they want to elevate like their standing reach, but they don't care as much about wingspan. The max vert, some guys try, some guys don't. Like this kind of stuff. And like agility times is like, man, if maybe Malawach has the best feet in the draft, maybe he's not similar to Donovan Clingan. Maybe he's just not trying that hard in the shuttle drill or whatever, right? Or agility drills. It's just like I don't know. It all bears out on tape. And yeah, Grady and Scotty right now on the Raptors are two guys who I think are bigger than listed. When I stand next to those guys, and then I see a guy who's listed at like the same measurements, I'm like, no way, dude, no shot. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's a podcast, I feel. I'm going to take a little drink of this coffee, which has been sitting for 50 minutes, man. I'm so bad at drinking during these. I'm so bad at it. But anyway, that's Collin Murray-Boyles, Film Room, plus whatever the hell else we're talking about. And I'll say once again, yeah, it's the mug is my precious coffee, although it's getting older now, and it's Gollum holding a cup. So I have, and this one is just sitting on my desk, but this is from the DuSable Museum in Chicago. My collection of mugs is so good, guys. You have no idea how good my collection of mugs is. It's a great collection of mugs from all over the world in so many different places. Yeah. And Nabil says, thank you, Nabil, for tuning in and giving me you're literally just giving me like external info about CMB to help support what I was doing. Thank you very much, Nabil. JD says, great video. I was negative because the fit is insane, but CMB is a cool prospect. Yeah. And like, that's the thing. Again, the 12th pick, Johnny Davis was picked at 10. J-Dub picked at 12. Rudy Gobert, 27. Pascal, 27. Talk about players and like whoever you want to like. That's so important to people listening. Just like watch the tape. And if someone says like, you're wrong, okay. But like, man, it doesn't actually matter. Like, just as long as you can discuss this stuff respectfully, people get snide and condescending about like players and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why. Like who you want to like. And if you don't like CMB or if you don't like the fit, that's okay. I like CMB. I don't love the fit either. But I'm still a guy who's like, draft the best talent available if you can. But like, yeah, we'll see. The Raptors, they're the ones who make the decision at the end of it. And then everyone can shake their fists. That's right. Yeah, go Pacers tonight. I want to cover an NBA Finals run. Yeah, so everybody, please cross your fingers for the Pacers. I'd love to be able to cover an NBA Finals run and with Caitlin. So that'd be badass. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe before you get out of here. It helps the channel. Myself and Trey, we've covered 25 prospects already. We have more on the way. I'll be doing more of these film rooms. I want to have like 5 or 6 done by the time the draft comes around. So yeah, we'll see. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it very much. Whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and good Bye.